Hello everyone, my name is Mabel and I'm 30 years old. I've always believed that life has a peculiar way of showing you people's true colors, but I never expected it to happen to me so vividly. Not like this. A while back, I suddenly came into a substantial inheritance, a blessing that turned out to reveal the selfish, ugly side of the man I once loved the most, my husband. Today I want to share my story, how an unexpected twist allowed me to strike back at two people at once, even though revenge was never my intention. But to understand that, I need to start from the beginning. I grew up far away from my grandparents, yet distance never weakened our bond. They visited me whenever they could, bringing laughter, warmth, and comfort. My grandmother and I shared a special connection. I was her little star, the center of her world. She spoiled me endlessly, homemade treats, surprise gifts, and bedtime stories that always ended with hugs. When I turned 17, tragedy struck. My grandfather passed away. The loss devastated me and it broke my grandmother too. We clung to each other, leaning on one another through the heartbreak, calling daily just to talk or cry a little. When it was time for college, I chose a school near her home so I could stay close and support her. That's where I met Toby, my future husband. Toby and I started dating during our junior year. At first it felt like a fairy tale. He was charming, attentive, and considerate, the kind of man I thought I had always dreamed of. We shared secrets, dreams, and promises for the future. After graduation we stayed together and a few months later he proposed. We got engaged but decided to wait for marriage until we were financially stable. Since my apartment was bigger and in a better location, Toby moved in with me while we saved money together. For the most part our relationship was smooth. The problem, however, wasn't Toby, it was his sister Julia. From the very first encounter, Julia made it clear she didn't like me. Even though she lived out of state with her husband, she treated Toby like he was still her little brother, constantly intruding and undermining me. Her comments were sharp, her expressions dismissive, and her presence always made me feel unwelcome. The only reason I tolerated her visits was her daughter, Viola, a sweet little girl who immediately captured my heart. Viola and I bonded quickly, and Julia seemed to appreciate the occasional break when I babysat her. The real issue though was Toby. He never defended me. No matter how rude Julia was, he stayed silent, unwilling to confront her. So I stayed quiet too, swallowing my pride to keep the peace. 3 years after our engagement, we finally married. It was a beautiful day, one I had dreamed about my entire life. I truly believed we were beginning our happily ever after. But 4 years into our marriage, everything shifted, almost overnight. Two events changed everything. First, my beloved grandmother passed away. I was heartbroken and the grief consumed me. She left me an inheritance of about $1 million in cash and assets. A blessing I couldn't even celebrate amid my mourning. Second, Julia and her family moved back to town. That's when everything started to crumble. Suddenly Toby was rarely home. He spent most of his time at Julia's house, helping her, running errands, fixing things, or simply lingering there. When he did come home, she often came with him, always wearing that saccharine, fake smile. The only happiness I found was with Viola. Spending time with her reminded me what genuine love felt like. One evening, Toby came home alone, which had become increasingly rare. "Hey sweetie, how was your day?" I asked, trying to sound cheerful. "Fine," he replied casually. "And you?" "Oh, the same as usual. Did you visit Julia today?" I hesitated. "Yeah," he said. "You know how close we are. I just feel better around her." His words hit me like a cold slap. He continued, "We were talking about buying a house." I frowned. "Buying a house? We never discussed this." "Just hear me out," he said quickly. "Julia asked how we'd afford it and I mentioned your inheritance. She thought it would be a smart investment." I stared at him, stunned. "She thought what?" "Well," he said, "you have enough money to almost pay for one outright. I just thought it was time to settle down and invest in our future." I felt my chest tighten. "Toby, I have other plans for that money. You're acting like it's yours to spend, not mine." He looked at me, his expression darkening. "It kind of is. I get to decide how we use it." "Decide?" "No, Toby. I decide. It's my money." He sighed, frustration clear. "Fine. But at least think about it." After that night, Toby became even more distant. He spent nearly all his time at Julia's house, sometimes not coming home until late. And every day the rift between us widened, leaving me to wonder how someone I loved so deeply could care so little. Julia stopped visiting, except when she needed someone to watch Viola. Every time I asked Toby what was going on, he brushed me off with the same tired line, "Everything's fine." Eventually I stopped asking. Then one sunny afternoon, Viola came skipping up to my door, her laughter echoing through the hallway. "Hey, sweetheart. How's my favorite niece?" I greeted. "I'm your only niece," she giggled. "Still my favorite," I teased. "So what should we do today? Nails and ice cream?" Her eyes sparkled. "Can I paint mine pink?" "Of course," I smiled. "And we'll get strawberry ice cream after." The day passed in laughter, music, and glitter nail polish. But as evening settled in, Viola's cheerful tone faded. "You know, Aunt Mabel," she said softly, "I'm really going to miss you." I frowned. "Miss me? Why, honey? I'm not going anywhere." She looked down, fidgeting with her bracelet. "Mommy and Uncle Toby were talking. Mommy said she's helping Uncle with some cases. They said he'd get a big house after you left." I froze. "Sweetheart, when did you hear that?" "2 days ago," she whispered. "Mommy got mad when she saw me listening. She said I shouldn't tell you." My heart sank. I gently thanked her, told her she'd done nothing wrong and kept my promise. We still went for ice cream. I smiled the whole time for her sake, but inside my thoughts were racing. That night, after Julia picked Viola up, I sat on the couch, shaking. Toby, the man I trusted, was conspiring with his sister to take everything from me. I needed help. So I called Toby's father, Edgar, the only person in his family who had ever been kind to me. He answered in his usual warm tone. "Hello, darling. What a lovely surprise. How are you?" "Hi, Edgar," I said weakly. "Honestly, not great. I think I need your help." "My help? What's going on? Is Toby there?" "No," I whispered. "He's actually the problem." There was a long pause. "Oh dear," Edgar sighed. "I always told that boy to treat you right. What's he done now?" I hesitated, then told him everything. About Viola's confession, about the inheritance, about Toby and Julia's strange behavior. When I finished, Edgar's cheerful voice turned cold and serious. "My God, Mabel," he said slowly. "What exactly are you telling me?" "I think they're planning something against me," I whispered. After a moment he replied firmly, "You did the right thing calling me. Tell me everything from the beginning." So I did. Every detail. When I was done, Edgar sighed deeply. "First of all, I'm so sorry my children are doing this to you. This isn't how I raised them. Secondly, come to my office tomorrow, we'll handle this properly." "That sounds perfect. And please don't apologize." "You're nothing like them," I said sincerely. "Thank you, Edgar. I don't know what I'd do without you." The next day I took time off work and went to his office. Edgar apologized again for his children, but I told him to focus on fixing the problem. Together we laid out a plan. We suspected Toby was gearing up for a divorce, and likely wanted my inheritance. So first, we reached out to every reputable divorce lawyer in the city to get consultations. That way, Toby wouldn't be able to hire any of them later due to a conflict of interest. Then we analyzed how he and Julia might try to get their hands on my money. Luckily, my inheritance was in a separate account under my name only. I hadn't spent a cent of it on Toby, even though I had planned to buy him a few expensive things. That was over now. There was no legal way for them to touch it, so the only remaining route was theft. That's when Edgar and I devised a trap. I already had a high-end security system in the apartment, something Toby knew about. I pretended I was having issues with my bank account and casually mentioned that all my banking info was saved on my laptop. Then I told him I'd be out for the weekend meeting a friend. That friend was Edgar, who would serve as my alibi. In the middle of our coffee meeting, I got a notification. Money had been transferred out of my account to our joint one. My chest tightened. I immediately called the police and reported the theft. When I returned home later, Toby was sitting at the dining table, waiting. His expression was unreadable. "We need to talk," he said flatly. "About what?" "About us." "Okay. What about us?" "We're not working out," he said. "I agree," I replied calmly. He looked caught off guard. "You agree? What do you mean by that?" "For starters, I don't appreciate you threatening to end the relationship over money," I said coldly. "Something you clearly had no problem taking." "You think so little of me," he snapped. "That's not how a good partner acts." "As if you've been a good partner," I shot back. "You've been selfish since the start, Toby. And I only put up with it because I loved you." He laughed bitterly. "Selfish? Me? You're unbelievable." "How was I selfish?" I demanded. "I helped you pay off your student loans before mine. I supported you for a year when you didn't have a job. I sacrificed everything to make sure you were happy. But the second I didn't do what you wanted, I became the villain." The room went silent, thick with tension and truth. And for the first time I saw Toby's face not as my husband's, but as a stranger's. A stranger who had just destroyed the last piece of trust one had left.
Don't act like what you did was noble, I snapped. I would have done the same for you if the roles were reversed, wouldn't I? You never once helped me when I was sick. So why would I ever believe you'd sacrifice your comfort for me when I truly needed it? Stop trying to guilt me. And the last reason I don't want to be with you? I continued, my voice steady with anger. I don't want to be with a lying, manipulative thief. Toby froze, his face a mixture of shock and defiance. What are you saying? I know everything, I said, my tone cold. I saw you and Julia plotting behind my back. I saw you transfer money out of my account into our joint account, thinking you could divide it during the divorce. No, I didn't have to confront you first. I already have proof. You are pathetic, Toby. I see no reason to be with you. He tried to argue. Oh well, I'll still get half of what I transferred into our account. I still win. I smirked, holding up my phone. If you remember correctly, I installed security cameras in my apartment. You made that transfer from my laptop while I wasn't home. I've already reported you for theft. The police should be here any minute. His face drained of color. You did what? Here they come. Good luck, Toby. I'll see you in court. Seeing Toby finally face the consequences of his actions felt exhilarating. The following weeks were a whirlwind of courtroom sessions, evidence review, and theft charges added to our ongoing divorce proceedings. Edgar, my lawyer, fought tirelessly to make sure Toby paid for his crime. When the verdict came, justice was served. Toby was sentenced to 2 years in jail and fined $30,000. Nothing had ever tasted sweeter than revenge. As Edgar and I celebrated our victory, Julia appeared. She had avoided all prior hearings, choosing to show up only for the verdict. Her anger was palpable as she pointed accusingly at Edgar. Dad, you were helping this witch, she spat. Give me one good reason why I shouldn't have helped Mel, Edgar replied calmly. Julia scoffed. I don't know, because she literally put your son in jail? Yes, Edgar said firmly. He deserved it. Maybe now he'll think twice before stealing from someone again. How could you do that to your own son? Julia cried. No, Julia, I interrupted, my voice sharp. How could you do that to your own brother? You don't see the real reason behind your plan. You were going to help Toby get the money so you could benefit too. I was trying to give him a wake-up call about this jerk. You have no idea how toxic he is for him. Julia shot back. I don't think she was toxic. You were a bad influence and he was stupid enough to fall for her tricks. He's getting the punishment he deserves. And maybe, Julia, I added coldly, you'll think twice before manipulating people again. He will never speak to you again. That's fine, she sneered. I have no children anyway. I don't need this drama. I shrugged. Don't be so dramatic. I'll be here. But I'm not happy with how you treated my baby brother. My children? Neither you nor your brother are mine anymore, she snapped. I want nothing to do with either of you. You can't do that, I said incredulously. I can, she replied. And I will. This is all Mel's fault. If she had thought of anyone but herself for once, none of this would have happened. You should have been less greedy. I was going to spoil Toby, but you had to interfere. You took everything from him, and I hope you sit and think about it. With that, she turned on her heel. I grabbed Edgar's hand and we walked away, chuckling at the chaos we'd survived. I felt an immense sense of relief. Toby got what he deserved, and I was finally free of his manipulative ways. I did feel a twinge of guilt for Edgar losing both his children, but he reassured me that their choices had led to this outcome. We went out for coffee afterward and maintained a strong friendship. Julia tried harassing me via text, but Edgar told her and her husband to leave me alone. In an unexpected twist, this also gave me a small measure of revenge on Julia. Her husband had no idea about her involvement in Toby's schemes. When he learned the truth from Edgar, he was shocked. Their marriage, already strained by her greed and nagging, fell apart. He requested, and received, almost full custody of their child Viola, while Julia got little Alami and was forced out of their home. She blamed me entirely, but I couldn't help feeling a little vindicated. Despite everything, I got to see Viola often. She loved me, and spoiling her became a joy. As for me, my life flourished. I got a promotion at work, hired an accountant, and invested wisely. Everything I had gone through made me stronger, wiser, and more cautious of whom to trust. Looking back, I realized that the struggle was worth it. The view from where I am now is incredible.